Good evening, viewers, and welcome to Reconnecting Youth with AYESHA. This is your host, AYESHA Ali, and today's program is about a very relevant and important issue and topic. So we're seeing more and more South Asian people becoming involved in our community, especially politics, which is a great thing because now there's more platforms and it's more accessible for people, South Asian population, to address their concerns, their issues. So our guest today is one who's involved in our community and is also running for the Sully District Supervisor. We have here Dr. Srilekha Palle. Thank you so much for joining us today.
AYESHA, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Thank you. So before we proceed, I'm just going to ask you to please tell us a little bit about yourself so that the audience can get to know you.
Sure. AYESHA, thank you for giving me an opportunity again. I'm Srilekha Palle. I'm a mom more than anything.
Yeah.
And I'm a working professional. I work in healthcare industry. I'm also a small business owner. And I've been in the community of South Asian and mainstream community for the past 20 years. Have been living in Virginia for about 15 years or so. Have been helping South Asian community in various healthcare advocacy groups and cultural and rest of the community involvement.
So what did you study, and if you could tell us a little bit about your education background as well?
Sure. I have a doctorate in rehabilitation sciences,
wow.
specifically focusing on physical therapy, and I also have a master's executive business management, again very focused on healthcare industry. Healthcare has always been my passion, like public policy, community involvement, and community healthcare has always been part of my passion. That's what I pursued even in my business education and also healthcare clinical education.
So based on your education background, you're more than qualified for this job, I believe.
Thank you, AYESHA.
What inspired you to run for the position of the Sully District Supervisor?
So AYESHA, I've been living in this community, as I said, for 15 years, just in Sully District for about close to 10 years.
Okay.
And in the past 15 years I've lived here, I feel like things have not gotten better. As the community is evolving and growing, I would like to see the infrastructure be doing well. But in fact, I see that we are going behind. And I'll tell you a few reasons why. If you're getting on 66, you see how the traffic congestion is. So the traffic congestion is something that I'm terribly worried about because as a small business owner and as an employee that works for an organization, I'm on road pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm a mom, as I said, I have 2 kids, so I take them to practices and hence I'm on road all the time. So I've seen the traffic congestion get worse and I am slightly tired of paying the tolls. I mean, there has been many days where I end up paying $43 surge tolls.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. So I think traffic congestion, and I'm frustrated at the fact that there has been high density development that doesn't synchronize with infrastructure, and the taxes keep raising. Property taxes have gone 3 times higher since I have lived in Sully District. Real estate taxes have gone up. So I think the part of me running is to restore fiscal discipline in the county and also student achievement. I'm involved in I've been involved in schools as a PTA vice president, as enrichment coordinator, and I feel like student achievement is not as vigorous as it should be, and I want to be very focused on that.
So do you think, does the Sully District, do they have enough do they have enough South Asian people in leadership positions that their issues can be just addressed, or no?
I don't think so. I mean, if you're looking at the slate of board of supervisor or slate of school board members that we have, especially in school board, I've noticed that not only do we have less representation, but also most of the school board members don't have kids in the schools anymore.
Oh.
Granted, they've done probably they had students and they had their children in
but
the
now
past.
they've graduated.
They don't.
Yeah.
So sometimes I wonder if they are totally understand. And when I'm looking at the slate of county supervisor, especially my opponent in Sully District, since they really don't hold a real-time job in the economy that we are running in, I wonder if they even understand what fiscal discipline is. So, and that's another reason why I'm running. I feel that there should be much more representation of South Asians.
So you mentioned the restoring physical discipline, and even on if you go and check her website, or I see that there's information how you're advocating for that. If you could please tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So as a small business owner and as a person that very, very much cares about how I care for my patients, but still provide my patients the best clinical care with measurable outcomes, I feel like not having fiscal discipline causes us not to be able to focus on outcome-based budgeting. Currently, the way budgeting works is with the revenue that is available in the past year. What I proposed is zero-based budgeting and priority-based budgeting, outcome-based measurables, which means that we budget based on the priorities for our county that particular year, and also having a long sight vision. and make sure our issues are prioritized in such a way that we are measuring progress. And if we don't think we are making the progress, we should feel like we need to be taking a step back and prioritizing our budget again. So I think that is the only way we can ensure that we are fiscally disciplined in our county and we are not wasting our money.
And even on your website, it mentions that your plan is that if there's certain programs that are not being successful, you want to cut off the budgets and just like end the program, and like monitor them and see like if they are being successfully like executed, but if they're not, then you want to take budget from them. So are there any programs currently in the district that you believe that are like not successful and it would be more beneficial to take like the budget from them and then invest them in a different program?
I think inefficiencies are there everywhere. So not being in the position, I don't think I'm in a position to say I'm going to cut that program. I would talk very little about cutting the programs, but I'll talk about efficiencies. I think it's extremely important that we evaluate each and every program and see, is this actually resulting in desirable outcomes for the money that we are investing? Is this something that we need to outsource or privatize or semi-privatize to ensure greater benefits to our Sully residents, versus having blanket statement of having the budget and just continue with the project whether they're making improvements or not.
You also talk about on the website about like making changes to the pension system. So can you please tell our audience like what is the current pension system and like what changes do you plan to implement?
Sure. So AYESHA, whether you know about it or not, the pension system currently is completely underfunded. So if we don't do any changes in the pension system within our Sully district and Fairfax County, we are going to have undue burden on our Sully residents and Fairfax County residents down the road in 5 years. So what I'm proposing is, and please mind you, this is not cutting down on the pension, but this is reforming, right? And making sure that this not having a proper pension system poses risks to even people that are receiving the pension. So I'm not only worried about people that are coming into the pipeline.
Because there are not enough funds for them.
There are not enough funds. So if you're, as a county employee, if you're totally dependent on the pension system, you may not be able to receive the benefit if this plan continues because we are already underfunded. Going back to your point of what would I do, I think we just need to modernize our 401k plans, think about reforming the entire system, and talk about how are we going to deal with it with people that are coming into the pipeline. I think there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done within the pension system, but I think the first step is acknowledging that whatever we have is underfunded and it's not working out, and coming up with some common sense creative solutions. And also, as a small business owner, I strongly feel that sometimes putting the problem solving into residents sometimes gets us better benefits, because I can't have all the answers. Neither all the board of supervisors can have all the answers. Incentivizing people for giving the right solutions would result in having a problem solution between all of us.
Why do you think the pension system is underfunded? Is it just the availability of the lack of funds, or is it something else?
I don't think it is the lack of funds. I think it is the negligence of looking and evaluating, going back to the same programmatic evaluation, right? As the things are changing, as the economy is changing, as the job market is changing, we got to continuously, if that is lacking, if you don't have the vision to evaluate each and every program fiscally each year, we end up in a rut situation where we just realize, oops, we have now underfunding system, and that's what I think has happened. Not one factor, but I think multiple factor, and poor oversight has resulted in this.
So part of importance of resident safety is, apart from financial stability, is just like safety for just feeling safe and like making sure that it's a safe community, you're living a safe and secure life. What are your plans to ensure that?
So AYESHA, as you know, I have 2 children, so I'm very acutely aware of what is going on in the community, and I feel that I'm responsible for not only my children, I'm just responsible for all the children. I'm a mom, so so that comes first to me. I think there are so many common sense things that you can do from criminal justice reforms perspective, like victim reinstitution and ensuring that cops and police are fairly paid, so they actually stay within Fairfax County and ensure that they're protecting our residents. Institution thinking about body cameras to build that.
And that was your. I just want to let the audience know that this is what her doctorate was in. So she does have the knowledge. She acquires the knowledge, and she knows like how to implement it.
So I have done my doctorate is actually a clinical doctorate, but I have done a lot of discussions with other supervisors in the past, and I think having body cameras actually results in trust between civilians, right? So those are the things that we need to implement to ensure that the entire community, schools are safer.
Yeah, it also ensures that if you have a police encounter, you know that it's like the police office. There won't be any injustice happening because there's a body camera on there. So you also feel safe when a police officer stops you.
Exactly.
So lastly, you do have students. You do have children attending schools. What schools? I mean, are they in elementary or middle?
So I have a high schooler who goes to
Okay.
Chantilly High School, and I have a daughter who goes to Navy Elementary School.
Okay.
Schools are very good, but there is definitely an academic achievement. Teachers are phenomenal,
Yeah.
but I feel that teachers sometimes can be overburdened with administrative tasks, and they're really not able to do the justice for the children, right, as they would like it to be because of administrative burden. But they're very, very capable teachers. And Aisha, I'm sure you went to schools around here. You realize that all the kids right now, it is one of the richest county in the country.
Yeah.
But did you know that we have 800 trailers in schools, and a lot of students sit through in the trailers?
Yeah, because there's not enough classrooms for
Exactly,
everyone.
exactly.
Yeah.
So my opponent and a lot of the candidates that are in school board and supervisory position has been there for 20 years doing the same job. I would like to question them and say, this is the richest county, one of the richest
How come
county.
we don't have enough classrooms?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're talking about safety, what kind of safety is that for the kids, right? I mean, they are not in a physical building.
Yeah.
Granted, it's kind of attached to the physical building, but it's impossible to provide the same safety measures. So going back to your point about student achievement, I do a lot of enrichment activities for my children, whichever school they are in. And I feel like Asian Americans do well due to enrichment activities that parents and parental involvement. But I feel like there's a huge gap when it comes to Hispanic and African American communities. And my proposal is to ensure that the academic rigor and academic curricular is so tight that there shouldn't be this achievement gap. The achievement gap is the kids should not only just benefit because their parents are able to afford to send them to enrichment activities, but all the kids should benefit, regardless of your socioeconomic status or regardless of your skin color. All of them should be getting an extremely tough curriculum, tight curriculum, so everybody benefits from it.
I think part of that is a lot of times parents, like I know this is something that I've experienced and I've also witnessed in South Asian parents, that it's like they are very strict and very focused on just like following the curriculum and being on top of your academics, but there has to be a balance between your extracurriculars as well.
Exactly.
And that's not that. And I feel like if someone who's a South Asian parent and who's from the same race and understand like the culture and religious point of views if they advocate for that, it would influence a lot of parents to send their kids and get them more involved and actively be involved as well in extracurriculars. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. I think there's a fine balance. I always say physical and mental well-being is extremely crucial for the success of kids' curriculum, and that would be my statement. I think each parent should reevaluate on how the kids. So as much as we want to focus on academic vigor, we also want to focus on ensuring that their mental and physical well-being is taken into consideration. That's a very good question.
So we're having a really nice conversation, an in-depth conversation about the plans she plans, when elected, Dr. Palle plans to implement. We're going to take a short break right here and we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere, we'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to Reconnecting Youth with AYESHA. Before we went on a break, we are having a conversation with Dr. Srilekha Palle over here. Before we continue, I just want to say that in South Asian population, there's one thing that we struggle with, and that's going out there and vote, whether it's for a presidential election or local election or just state election. We struggle with voter registration. So I really want to encourage and emphasize that it is very, very, very highly important that you go out there and register to vote, because without voting, you won't be able to choose the candidate who will be there to address the questions, concerns, or any points that you have that you want to make sure that they're heard. So if you want your voice to be heard, it is really important. So please, please, please go out there and register to vote. And also not just register, but also go out there to vote on the dates that you're supposed to cast your votes, because if you just register to vote and you don't go out there to cast the vote, actually there's no point, because then you won't be able to choose someone who's going to be there to advocate for yourself. So coming from that point of view, how can more South Asian people in the community be a part of your campaign.
Thank you for emphasizing about voter registration. And how can they help me? There are multiple ways to help me. I think we can start with absentee ballots. I mean, encouraging folks to actually do voter registration, and then if you are not able to be in town or unable to vote for any reason on November 5th, then you have to do absentee ballots. I think that's the most important thing. But coming to my campaign, I think I surely need a lot of help door knocking. So if there are people that are out there that knows their community and would like to door knock and like my policies and agree with me, I think please go to website palleforsully.com and subscribe to the newsletter, or my phone number is on the website. Please call me. Door knocking, phone calls, doing text messages to our voters, emailing the voters. Doing a lot of meet and greets to ensure that I'm out there in the community able to advocate for you all and be a voice for all of you.
And I think that it's a great point that you mentioned, and you're advocating for absentee ballots as well. So if you're like someone who has worked that day and won't be able to make it there, or you have any other issues that you won't be able to go out there and vote on the same day, or if you go to college that's like out of state, or you're traveling, that's a great way to ensure that you still are able to vote and are able to address and get your voice heard through absentee ballots. So I think, thank you for mentioning that. Before we wrap up, any closing remarks for our audience or any message that you'd like to give out to us?
AYESHA, first, I thank you all for letting me actually come in front of the camera and appeal to the audience. To Sully districts and anyone listening to this within Fairfax County and outside of Fairfax County, like AYESHA mentioned, we have all good intentions, but if you don't come out and vote on November 5th, nothing changes from our perspective. And it's extremely important South Asian community is well represented. So please take a look at my website, again, palleforsully.com. And if you do agree with my policy, or even if you don't hesitate to call me. But I would urge you to look at my website and come out and vote on November 5th. And thank you very much for your support.
Thank you for joining us today. I also want to close once again to remind everyone that it is really important to go out there and vote, whether you do it through absentee ballots or you do go out there and vote in person that day. It's important because if you want to get your voice heard and you want people to advocate for your rights and concerns, it's really important to get involved. If not going to run for leadership positions, it's important that you actually go out there and support and vote for someone who is advocating for the rights that you agree with as well. So please go out there and vote whoever it is you're going to vote for. Make sure you're educated about the candidate and just go out there and vote and become involved, because there are more chances and more opportunities becoming for us to have a seat on the table, but it's very important that we take an advantage and actually avail that opportunity of having that seat on the table. So thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll be back again next week with another guest. Thank you.